Shaina NC, the BJP has been trying to project internally and externally that ever since the revocation of Article 370, terrorism is down, the security situation is better, thousands of tourists are flocking to the valley, you've rolled out development projects in Kashmir, and that there is a new Naya Kashmir that you are building. All these killings call into question some of those claims the BJP is making after revoking Article 370.
So Rahul, I have 2-3 points to make. One is that Article 370 was clearly necessary and the abrogation was quite seamless. Having said that, if you look at the number of terrorists and terror activities, they have gone down substantially. It's not as if the government has not been able to catch hold of even 22 terrorists in the recent past. Yes, Rajni Bala's death and other citizens too, high profile or low, I will not even get into that. The fact that you could have a banker or you could have a pharmacist or you could have a government employee means that there is some local knowledge of how these perpetrators are coming into the system as locals and using small pistols to conduct what their wrongdoings are. Is the government going to give a befitting answer? Absolutely. You know better than anyone else the political will of the Honorable Prime Minister and the Home Minister as well as the investigative agencies. But having said that, does that make us safe, or does that make the Kashmiri Pandit or the citizen of Jammu and Kashmir safe? Yes, there are questions which come up when one sees these kind of brutal murders and terrorists coming in as locals and then a lot of them having disappeared from the actual list of the not knowing where they've disappeared and how they have even come in. But I think that in the days to come there will be much more collaboration between citizens.
Sushil Pandit, no, but why hasn't it happened? This is on your watch. You've been now in power for 8 years. Ma'am, if you were in opposition then blaming Farooq, Mehbooba, Manmohan Singh would have been one thing. You're in power. If this collaboration and cooperation that you're talking about hasn't happened so far. So let me put that question. Okay, so let me put that question to Sushil Pandit. There are two ways of looking at it. One, that this is an inevitable pushback after the revocation of 370. Kashmiri terrorists wanted to send a message that no, there is no Naya Kashmir, this is the stale old Purana Kashmir, and this is a pushback, inevitable. The second is, as Siddharth pointed out, that there is way too much lack of coordination, lack of oversight, lack of planning, for which the state administration and the security forces, and especially the administration, is responsible, because now they've been in power for 8 years in one way or the other, and therefore you have no one else to blame. This is happening on your watch.
If it is the pushback because of Article 370, what was all that was happening before the abrogation, or what you call the neutering of Article 370? So hunting for alibis for something which is touted as a new phenomenon may not going to help. Let me bring in 2-3 points and give me a couple of minutes for that. I have very patiently waited for my turn. Kashmir has turned into a militarized society since we left 30 years ago. It has transformed. And when I say militarized society, I don't mean to say that everyone's carrying a gun. What I mean to say is that even a senior school boy on the street knows the difference between a pistol and a revolver. And when he sees, he knows what is a rocket-propelled grenade or a hand grenade, and how different vehicles of army are used in different manners. He even knows what are the standard operating procedure for the guard who's put up there, or a picket. He knows his way around the army, the security forces. And it is this that you are now facing in terms of young 15, 20, 22, 25-year-olds who don't need training, who are familiar. And what has actually come as a shot in the arm is that 6-7 years ago, there were for 2-3 years frenzied funerals of fallen militants. You had a spectacle where a halo of martyrdom was very easily put on the likes of Zakir Musa or Burhan Wani, or even faceless, nameless Pakistani militants who were given Mehman Mujahid funerals. in thousands, gun salutes. What did you expect? Those impressionable 14, 15-year-olds today are 22, 23, 24-year-olds. And they are ready material. You are now reaping the harvest of your adventures in 2016, 2017, 2018.
Who are you blaming?
And more will
Who
happen.
do you think is responsible for the current security situation?
Of course, the BJP, of course, the PDP, of course, all the security analysts who kept mum, who didn't scream blue murder when they saw such a thing happen. Nowhere in the world, terrorists, jihadis are given such fond send-offs, gun salutes, as we saw happen in in Kashmir. Even Yaqub Memon was given a 40,000, 50,000 strong funeral in Mumbai. Can you imagine? So, and another aspect of what we are seeing in Kashmir today is this hackneyed way of touting numbers. You know, 6 months back, this was the level of violence. Now, this is the level of violence. In your regime, so many killed. In my regime, so many neutralized. This is not going to be an intelligent or even commonsensical way of measuring how you're dealing with terror. Imagine, in US, for the last 20 years, there hasn't been a single serious terror attack. Have they lowered down their guard in terms of what they spend on jihad?